Hi, my name is Eric Studer. I'm the senior design producer at Airtight Games, and we're talking about Murdered Soul Suspect.
Where did the idea for this game come from?
So our creative director, Shiokawa-san, he works with Square Enix Japan. And he was actually watching Die Hard, believe it or not, of all places. And he thought, what if John McClane died and turned into a ghost? He wouldn't just give up, right? I mean, he would keep trying to save his wife. And so this notion of a ghost trying to still be a cop, still trying to be a detective, and bring the bad guys to justice sort of fueled all of this concept, and it ultimately became Murder.
Can you talk a little about the story for those that haven't seen the demo?
Sure, the story of Murdered is our protagonist, Ronan O'Connor, is murdered and thrown onto some street in the middle of Salem. He winds up a ghost in this sort of limbo realm called the Dusk. And now his only hope of moving on is bringing his killer to justice. So he has to solve his own murder.
Can you talk a little about the actual gameplay experience and the pros and cons of what he can do as a ghost?
So the pros and cons of being a ghost, the most obvious thing is his ability to pass through pretty much any interior wall in the game. It allows for really interesting level design scenarios, but it also poses new challenges for the players because they have to think about when your ability to go anywhere, what's important, and finding the path, and really foundationally making exploration a part of the game. And that sort of goes into the larger themes of Murdered, is we always want the player to be thinking about the game. We always want the player to be thinking about what he's doing. Whether you're in an investigation, exploring the world, or in combat, you should always be forming strategies. You should always be trying to think laterally, think outside of the box, and figure out what your next steps are.
But this being Salem, you can't just walk into any house, right? You've got some other rules going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the interesting things about Salem in our game is the people of Salem for hundreds of years have christened the foundations of all of their buildings. And they do this to ward off evil spirits, to keep them from just freely going wherever they want to. And there has to be a breach in this ward for a ghost to enter and exit an interior space. So the player has to always be figuring out, great, there's a door closed. I need to get in that building. How do I do that? And again, it goes back into that sense of the player needs to think about the environment, to aid in his exploration.
Now, there's also possession. Explain how that works, and also let's get into how that impacts demons.
So possession in Murdered, you can't actually control a living person. But what you can do is things like look through their eyes or hear through their ears, or you can actually influence their thoughts slightly, which will allow you to dictate their behavior or think about a certain thing in a certain way. And that's really, really critical for when you explore the different crime scenes, because your awareness of what you can do when you're possessing a person is going to be critical to getting clues that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. But it goes beyond just the investigations. In combat, you can actually possess living people. And for instance, a cop in a crime scene, if there's demons also in that crime scene, the cop is going to be going around examining the crime scene. You can use that cop to get behind the demon when he's not seeing you and take it, get out of him and then destroy him from within while he's not looking.
Can you talk about the demons and what types of other creatures people will be going up against?
So we have a variety of demons in the game, but at the root, demons used to be human ghosts. The longer you stay in the Dusk, the more you are corrupted by it. And after hundreds of years, your soul sort of withers away, and you turn into these base creatures who only have the most basic sense of survival skills. The one thing that they hold on to is this belief that by consuming other ghost souls, they can return themselves to their former human spirits. And so they exist and they lurk in the dusk, hunting out ghosts who still have their souls, trying to devour them, to restore themselves to their former state.